I've always been somewhat interested in things like psychology, philosophy, and metaphysics. Started from a very early age, and my interest only grew with time as I researched more on the subjects of the afterlife, ghosts, spirits, demons, all that stuff. One concept I came across a year ago in a CreepyPasta was the creation of talupas, beings created out of thought or belief. In layman terms, it's like creating an imaginary friend, but taking into consideration that this being was capable of sentient thought and emotions. This particularly interested me for one particular reason. Though my social life was okay, I had no girlfriend. Well, I had ex-girlfriends, but as the title implies, they either cheated on me or just broke up with me. All sorts of weird reasons were given, like we don't have anything in common, or that they found someone better looking or with more money than me. Who was I kidding anyway? I'm a loser. But perhaps with this talupa concept, I could change this. I had done all sorts of mental exercises and meditation since I was young, so I needed very little help to initiate the process. I simply sat cross-legged on my bed in the dark of my bedroom and cleared my head of all thoughts. I played my song of choice, Half a World by Volta, to set the mood. I chose this because it was a trance song that I really liked, and because I found it clever that my soon-to-be new girlfriend and I were, in a sense, two worlds apart. I began to imagine all the things I would want in a girlfriend. After all, she was to be my dream girl. I imagined her about 5'4", a few inches shorter than me, and having an hourglass figure. I didn't want an anorexic supermodel figure. I gave her long, straight, sandy brown hair. Her face was round and her pale flesh was almost as radiant as her emerald green eyes. She had a soft, soothing voice to match her shy but bubbly personality, and being that I was a major otaku and gamer, she shared these traits with me. I had to where she dressed casually, but wasn't afraid to accentuate her curves. God, I need a life, I thought bitterly, but quickly pushed that out of my head so I wouldn't fuck myself up while inventing what was supposed to be my soulmate. Fortunately, my thought process was interrupted by a soft, sweet voice. Cheer up, you have me now. I then realized that I was actually having a lucid dream, and that the product of my imagination was sitting in front of me, smiling. I was ecstatic, but I almost couldn't bring myself to move out of fear that I might somehow mess this up or accidentally wake up. But then she, as if reading my thoughts again, giggled playfully and wrapped her arms around me. I thought my heart was going to try to jump out of my throat with excitement. I could only muster these words. Are you real? She replied, all you have to do is name me, and I will always be with you. I answered her with a name that rolled off the tip of my tongue. I will always love you, Serena. Serena smiled and her green eyes twinkled. As will I, Joseph. After we kissed, well, I think it goes without saying what happened next. It was amazing. She not only knew exactly what I wanted, but she made me feel more like a man than I had ever felt. And I felt a deep and spiritual connection with her as we did so. After what felt like hours, we finally cuddled up to each other in my bed. Her sweet voice as she sighed happily to sleep made my heart skip a beat, and I almost felt like crying. I held her tightly and actually felt the warmth of her body next to me as I drifted off. When I awoke, I was almost heartbroken to find that my bed was as empty and cold as it was all those nights before. But then I remembered that every night, she would always be there waiting for me. Or should I catch a nap or two during the day? Perhaps. Over the next few months, I lived day to day with a new pep in my step, if you will. I greeted college with an optimistic attitude and became more productive at my part-time job. Knowing that I had the love of my life to come home to, so to speak, filled me with the same joy and confidence that a newlywed husband would have. I would come home every day to the same routine, get dinner, get a shower, and go to bed around 9 p.m. The rest of my night would be spent in my dream world, doing whatever I felt like doing with my beloved. We would play video games, watch anime, or read manga, even reading creepypastas or watching YouTube. She was my goddess, Serena. She was everything to me, and the apparent lack of a social life I had held no bearing on my good mood. I never wanted it to end. I wanted the rest of my life to be this way even after I left my corporal form. As this continued though, I think I got used to it. I'm sure that this sort of thing happens to all longtime couples or newlyweds that settle down. But with her being confined to my dreams and my schedule changing, my social life started to change. My confidence was bringing in more friends, and I started hanging out with people and coming home later. I would still see Serena in my dreams, but over time I had grown accustomed to the dreams. This led to less playtime, less cuddling, even less lovemaking. This was met with Serena's understanding, a bit disappointed. But over time, as I became busier and more involved with people, I even started dismissing the dreams themselves as normal people did. As I started to attract female attention in my waking life, it didn't take much time for me to forget Serena entirely. The fall of the following year, I started dating a girl I was talking to for a few weeks prior named Melissa. She and I had a few things in common. We were both gamers and we liked CreepyPasta. She was nice and we had a pretty decent physical relationship previously established. I think these things were enough to outweigh our differing political views and all that, which seemed trivial in comparison. I spent a lot of time at her place because her apartment was a heck of a lot nicer than the dump I had made for myself. These were getting pretty heavy for us, and we were getting pretty close on more than just a physical level as the days went. In fact, we were considering having me move into her apartment with her. I finally went back to my pad one night, hammered from a night out drinking with Melissa and a group of our friends. This would be the last night I would spend in this wreckage, because I was packing my things and moving out tomorrow. As I closed my eyes, I heard a familiar, soft woman's voice ask, "Where have you been all this time?" I opened my eyes slowly and cleared my blurry vision to see a meek-looking young lady with an hourglass frame and sandy brown hair sitting on the floor in front of me. Her twinkling eyes watered and her lips quivering. In my drunken state, the only reaction I could manage was, "The fuck?" Then my heart sank as she whimpered, "You don't remember me?" Oh shit, I thought. That's the dream girl I made. I didn't know what to do or say, and my inebriation wasn't helping my thought process. I said as sensitively as I could, as the alcohol would let me, I'm sorry. I'm with Melissa now." I actually felt Serena's heart stop as her eyes widened and her jaw dropped. I saw her shaking as she started to sob uncontrollably. I felt like shit. I knew I was an asshole. And yet, thanks to good old Jack Daniels, I managed to come out with this gem. "I'm so sorry. This is my fault. I shouldn't have created you in the first place." Oh yeah, that's just what she needed to hear. I scolded myself as she wailed, burying her face in her hands, but her reaction after I finished that thought surprised me. She looked at me, sniffling and wiping tears from her baby soft cheeks, and said, "It's okay. You're right. I don't blame you. I'll be going now. You're happy now and you don't need me." She managed a weak smile, which tore right through my chest to see, but I hugged her. I found myself tearing up as I said, "I'm sorry. I don't regret making you." She whispered, "It's okay. I'll move on. Be happy, okay?" "Okay, Serena," I said as I opened my eyes to find that it was Sunday morning and I was still dingy and hungover on my couch. I packed my things, which only took an hour, and moved it all into Melissa's place. The night before was kind of a blur to me, but certain parts stuck with me. Unfortunately, I wasn't sober enough to recall much more. Either way, it wasn't enough to distract me from the sense of completion I felt when all my games and clothes were moved in, as well as my gamer chair and laptop. Life was perfect now. Melissa and I celebrated by playing each other in games like Super Smash Bros. Brawl and watching silly fail videos on YouTube. Naturally, we consummated this found living situation and finally fell asleep in each other's arms in the wee hours of the morning. My dream that night was strange, to say the least. I entered my apartment and tried to flick on the light switch. For some reason, no light came on. This didn't faze me much, given how run down the place was. The power was probably out. I walked in with my keychain flashlight and was mildly surprised to see that the apartment lay completely bare. The living room had nothing in it, the kitchen was empty, hell, even the bathroom was vacant. It then hit me. What am I doing here? I don't live here anymore. I stood there feeling like I was a character in The Sims who had just had their action cancelled, and I heard something coming from an empty bedroom which I hadn't gone into yet. It was a soft female voice crying quietly. The hair stood up on the back of my neck and I immediately started awake. Relieved, I found myself back in Melissa's bed, with that voluptuous body lying peacefully next to me. My heartbeat started to slow down as I smiled at this sight and kissed her on the forehead. Though, as I closed my eyes, I heard the crying in my head again. I tried to shake it off as a lingering afterthought as I dozed off. This dream became a recurring nightmare. As it became more prevalent, I started to lose sleep. The paranoia had afflicted me with insomnia, but my curiosity made me lapse out of consciousness during the day. Concerned for me, Melissa would try and snap me out of it when my eyes glazed over. I confided to her about the dreams I had. She was understanding, but she had no idea of what to say to help me. We tried all sorts of new age sleeping remedies, and when that didn't work, I started taking pills just to sleep. No matter what, I still had the same fucking dream, and each time I would hear that crying. That poor girl sobbing that drove its way into my very soul and hollowed me out. The way my hair stood up on my end, and how queasy I felt, and even when I looked in the darkened, empty bedroom. My concentration suffered at college, and my grades dropped. I got fired from my job because my performance was slowed. Melissa, frustrated with me not being able to help with rent, gave up on me. I had to move out. I would have moved into my old apartment room, but I couldn't bring myself to even step in there. Every time I did, I felt sick to my stomach. So I moved into another apartment building. I figured I would try to distance myself from that dump as much as I could while still trying to stay in the cheapest apartment in town. As I finished my unpacking that night, I undressed and went to take a shower. I looked in the mirror and saw a shell that I didn't even recognize. I saw a gaunt, pale version of me with messy hair and stubble. The exhausted facial expression that stared back with empty eyes made my soul go cold. Fuck it. I need sleep. I need to get my life back on track. If I had to experience a nightmare again, I would suck it up and go into the room this time, to confront or just to find out where that crying was coming from. Maybe then I could end this and start my life back over. I was too young to let my life go like this. I don't even remember falling asleep. I just remember being in front of that door again. That same door with the number 14A in brass numbers. Here we go again, I thought with a surprising lucidity. I opened the door with my shaking hands. I didn't even turn on the light switch. I knew it wouldn't work. I just clicked on my flashlight. I checked the living room, barren. I checked the kitchen, vacant, of course. The bathroom was also unoccupied, and I heard the crying, as always, coming from my old bedroom. I fought back the feeling of dread and sucked in a breath and walked slowly into the room. I suddenly became more agonized, and the empathy I felt was hard to fight back. It felt like her soul was falling apart. I nervously turned my flashlight toward the sound of her weeping. I saw a young woman, huddled in a fetal position and naked, where my bed once was placed. Her face was hidden by stringy, frizzy hair that once seemed to be sandy brown, but now was grayish white. She had a pale, graying flesh that had scratches all over her arms and legs. Her sobs softened as my bluish flashlight beam hit her. I choked out the words, Are you okay? This must have shocked her because her whole body spasmed at my words, and she went silent for a long, dread-filled moment. She then mumbled weakly, I've tried so hard to move on. I fought back a tear and gulped as I asked her, What do you mean? She sobbed and moaned, You were better off without me. I've tried so hard to die. She began to convulse as her tears stopped. Then she stood up and I could see her emaciated, quivering body had a hole in her chest that seemed as if she had ripped it open herself. She was gripping her own heart in her hand, black as coal and withered, but still beating, slowly. Then, with a jolt, she snapped her face up to look at me. I saw her gray, taut skin with sunken, clouded eyes that leaked thick, bloody tears. In that instant, she shrieked at me with a pitch that made my entire soul wretched. But I can't. I was nothing before I found you. That day you said my name and told me you would always love me was when my life began. I loved you then and I still do now. With all of my soul. We are perfect for each other and we always will be together. I am part of you and you make me whole. Our life together was a blissful dream that I never wanted to end. For months, I was there for you every night when you would get home. We did all our favorite things together. We would sometimes just cuddle and talk for hours about what was on our minds. And the love we made, the passion we shared was ecstasy in its purest form. Our souls were one and they will always be. I missed you. All the time when you were out. I suppose I'm like a dog, a man's best friend. At least that's how you treated me. Oh, but that just sounds bitter of me to say. You'll have to forgive me. I waited faithfully for you to get home every night for those months we were together. Even when you started coming home later. We didn't have as much time to spend together, but I understood. You were busy. I had no idea about her. When you came home that night so inebriated and I approached you about your growing distance from me, you told me about her. My heart stopped and I wanted to die right there. But I loved you so much that I would do anything for you, and if you wanted her, I would let you be with her. even though I wanted to just cease to exist right there, so I kissed you goodbye for what I thought would be the last time. I tried to move on, I really did, but I loved you then, as I do now. I knew I was nothing without you. I couldn't even leave your apartment. I suppose no sane person would act this way, but I could never bring myself to leave her old bedroom, which was as barren as my heart since you moved in with her. I couldn't stop thinking about you and what we had. No matter how many tears I cried, I couldn't kill the pain. No matter how much I clawed at my useless and broken skin, I couldn't die. No matter how much my heart ached, even when I tore it out of my fucking chest. But you came back to me. You came back, my sweet savior, my creator, and my dream lover. You came back to me and told me that she had left you, and you apologized to me. I offered you my blackened, starved heart, and you took it, and now I finally have yours again. And this dream will never end now. Please, say those words I've been longing to hear again. I will always love you, Serena. As will I, Joseph. Well, it's November, all right, I think out loud, while walking to campus at 6 in the godforsaken morning. Clouds spread across the sky, covering the earth in the grayish white, as the misty air only exacerbates my shivering and my hangover. Should have worn a jacket, of course. I probably shouldn't have gone out with Antonio, Cody, and Josh last night to get wasted at a strip club until 3 a.m. But Antonio insisted that it was my reinitiation into the single life. He also promised that he'd help me move into a cheaper dorm that I had chosen after Relina broke up with me and kicked me out. Relina. That bitch. We were together for 5 whole months and I thought everything was okay. But apparently she needs a real man in her life. And her definition of that seems to be a 6-foot, muscle-bound Swedish dimwit named Bjorn, who's probably destined to be a lifeguard at a gym for the rest of his life. Whatever, I'll continue to pursue my doctorate in psychology because I'm apparently not a real man. Whore. I immediately put on my aviators when I entered the cafeteria to hide my bloodshot eyes from the blinding light. I pick up an energy drink to hopefully wake me up, along with my chicken fried steak, scrambled eggs, and French toast. I buy my breakfast and pick up a copy of the college newsletter to sit down to eat and read before class. I see Antonio sitting in our group's favorite booth, wearing his shades too and holding his head in his hands while eating his salad. When I sat down, he looks up at me and asks, "You too, Steve?" I wince. I'm not so loud, you're making it worse. Antonio chuckles lightly. Hey man, it was worth it though, right? Yeah. I start to eat my fried steak and place the paper down. First thing I see is a picture of a student with the headline, "Mysterious Death of a Student Occurred Last Night." I do a double take before reading the article. Holy shit. This isn't the kind of article you see in a college newsletter. Look at this, Antonio. I say as I turn to the paper to where we both can see it. Antonio looks at it and lowers his shades, his jaw dropping. Hey, isn't that that gamer dude from psychology class? I immediately recognized the thin, olive-skinned guy with short, messy black hair who always wore Nintendo or anime t-shirts every time I saw him. The fuck, man? I gasped. We both read on. Joseph Allen Valletta, born January 14th of 1989, was found in his bed on the morning of November 17th, 2012. His friend, Ian Stanley Hutchinson, tried to rouse him from his sleep, only to discover that he was dead. Speculation thus far is that Valdetta suffered a cardiac arrest while he slept. The article goes on to mourn his tragic end to a short life, laments that no one really knew much about him, and reminds students that heart attacks and strokes are a serious issue. Antonio makes eye contact with me as both of us are left agape. Dude, he was only 23. Antonio finally says, "That makes me even more uncomfortable. We both have 2 years on him." I look at my fried steak and my energy drink for a few seconds before shrugging and saying, "I think I'll have tea and skip on fried foods today," as I go to throw my unused and mostly uneaten breakfast. Antonio replies and follows me. I hear you, man. I go to purchase a healthier breakfast and eat before class starts. Psychology class is fraught with an eerie air today, understandably. Even Professor Stanley has gone off on a tangent based on Joe's death. Subject of death and dreams came up, as I knew it would. I spend the whole hour and a half listening to theories about dying and dreams correlating to physical death. Ironically, this is the kind of shit that Joe would have probably talked about amongst friends while he was alive. From what those who were acquainted with him knew of him once he got to talking to you, He'd go off into all sorts of discussions about parapsychology and supernatural stuff. I'm neither skeptic nor a firm believer in any of it, and while I'm open-minded, I just don't really care enough to pursue those kinds of things. I'm more interested in helping people and understanding how the mind works, I guess. But again, I suppose it would be cool to learn about spirits, the afterlife, and dreams. It's a shame he's gone now that I think of it. We could have been buddies, and maybe even learned some things. It kind of makes me wonder if he was going for psychology like I was or not. I shrug silently. I guess it's too late for that. Afternoon comes earlier with the coming of winter, and the sky gets darker a lot faster with the clouds. Antonio helped me get the last of my shit from my old bedroom at Mom's house into my new apartment. It's a dingy-ass place, but I had to go cheap because I'm just a low-life bartender, as Relina so sensitively put it before openly bragging about the Swedish meatball she cheated on me with. As fate would have it, I got stuck in the same complex as Joe was living in. Lovely. So here I am, dorm 14A, of a small 2-story dormitory with dorm rooms about the size of an average bedroom. The kitchen is the same room as the damn living room, and only 2 rooms separate from the main room, or a small bedroom and a bathroom. The air in the room just feels gloomy. I can't tell if that's from the weather or my bitterness over everything that's happened for the past few days. And though Antonio left about an hour ago, I still don't feel like I'm alone here. I can't really shake the feeling, but I dismiss it as unfamiliarity with my new surroundings. I try to drown out my feelings, hell, everything with a rum and coke. Take me away, Captain Morgan. I don't even remember going to bed, but somehow I wake up with my clothes and shoes on top of my sheets. Must have stumbled in here, I guess. I must be wasted still, because I can't move my body at all. I then hear what woke me up. I swear I hear sobbing. I'm suddenly gripped with unease in my ability to move as I frantically look around the room, when my eyes catch what is making that sobbing noise. I see a pale, grayish-skinned figure looking like a somewhat emaciated young woman with frizzy gray hair, huddled up in the corner of the room. It must have made a startled noise because as I spot her, she immediately stops sobbing and raises her head to make eye contact. I awake with a terrified shout, heart trying to escape through my throat and my entire body trembling. I try to calm myself and look around my room. I tell myself it was just a night terror. I've studied this in class before, after all. Sleep paralysis occurs when the mind is awake but the body is still asleep, and visual and auditory hallucinations are often experienced in this state. These can sometimes be nightmarish and especially prevalent in unfamiliar surroundings. Realizing that I was just tripping out because I was wasted and alone in a new, a bit run-down apartment, I relax. And yet, I still feel eyes staring at me. After the night I had, I'm not very alert today. I don't even know if I went to class today or not. Antonio calls me on Skype and confirms that I did indeed go, as he asked me, "Steve, you alright? You had bags under your eyes all day and you didn't talk to anyone." I tell Antonio about my night. Man, I just got shit-faced and stumbled into bed, then had a fucking nightmare. Antonio throws his brow at me. "Dude, I know you're still hurting over her, but you can't keep punishing yourself, man." "Push," I half-heartedly reply. Antonio comes back sternly. "I'm serious, man. I don't want to see you end up a statistic like that Joe kid." I don't know why, but this prompts me to remember my dream. I tell Antonio that what I can recall, and he retorts with, "See? Man, you're fucking yourself up all over this. One of those dreams is gonna give you." He stops, makes eye contact like me, then shakes his head. I don't know about all that shit anyway. I ain't never dreamed where I died before, and I sure as hell ain't had a heart attack yet. I just stare absent-mindedly at my screen when Skype chirps at me. I look at my contacts as to who I am to me. Who the hell is Forsaken Girl? I think aloud without realizing it. "Who?" Antonio parrots, overhearing me. I look at him and shake my head. "I don't know, man. I guess maybe last night I added some emo chick on Skype while I was hammered." I click on the message to see what Forsaken Girl sent me. All the while Antonio was saying, "Aw, you dog. You done made yourself a new friend, haven't you?" Ignoring him, I read the IN. It reads, "Hey, I'm sorry about last night." I replied back, not really knowing what the apology was for. "I don't really recall much of last night. To be honest, I don't even remember adding you, as wasted as I was, so I apologize in advance for any of my actions or words." Antonio's voice intercepts my train of thought. "What's she saying, man?" I answer, She's apologizing for something about last night. I don't know what her deal is or who she is. I told her I was drunk. Antonio came back with, man, don't blow this. She sounds like she's into you. I shake my head. I don't even think she's met me. If it's even a she. For all I know, I could have expecting some hot emo chick when it's really some creepy neckbeard. The I am chirp sounds again and I interrupt Antonio's incoming retort. Hold on, I got another message. Forsaken Girl replies, I didn't mean to scare you. I know you were only trying to sleep. My core goes cold as I read this and the hair on my back of my neck stands on end. Antonio chimes in. You okay? I answer. Dude, this bitch might have actually been in my room. She just apologized for, I don't know, maybe it's not that. Antonio tries to talk, but I cut him off. Hey man, I'll catch you later. I gotta figure out what the fuck this chick is going on about and get some sleep. I'll tell you what's going on tomorrow. Antonio looks at me through the screen with a worried expression for a good 3 seconds before saying, Alright homie, take care, and hangs up. I then return to the conversation with Forsaken Girl. I try to call her, but the call keeps getting dropped. She must have a bad connection or something, because it says she's online. I finally give up and just return to instant messaging her. The conversation goes as follows. Stevie, what do you mean? What did you do? Forsaken Girl, my boyfriend and I used to live here in this same apartment. Stevie, my apartment? Forsaken Girl, yes. Stevie, so that was you crying in my bedroom floor? Forsaken Girl, yes, I'm sorry. At this point in the conversation, I'm starting to feel uneasy as hell. This Forsaken Girl was obviously mentally ill. I mean, yeah, I just got cheated on and dumped by someone I loved, but I don't go crying in what used to be our apartment. But if there's one character flaw I find with myself, it's that I'm too nice. I have this weird desire to help people. Guess that's why I'm going for a psychology degree, huh? So I take a deep breath and muster up the courage to continue talking to her. Stevie, it's alright. I assume that you and him aren't together anymore? Forsaken Girl. I gave him my heart, and he gave me his, but now he's gone. He just vanished. Stevie. Shit, that really sucks. You don't deserve a flake like that. You're too sweet and sensitive to have your heart played with. Forsaken Girl. You really think so? Stevie, yeah, I mean, I don't know you that well, but you talk like someone who just wants to be loved, and you deserve it as much as anyone. Forsaken Girl. Thank you, you're very sweet. Stevie, oh shucks, you flatter me. I hope this helps at least. Forsaken Girl, you have helped me a lot. You make me feel like a new woman. Stevie, well, I'm glad. Go get 'em, girl. LOL. Forsaken Girl, thank you. Good night, darling. Not going to lie, I'm starting to get the overly attached vibe coming from this Forsaken Girl. I really hope she doesn't show up in my bedroom again tonight. I make a precautionary check of my entire dorm, then I double latch the door. That might have been a mistake I made last night. Tonight, I'm not going to bed drunk though. I'm going to have my first shower in 3 days and then climb into bed for some actual fulfilling sleep. I wash my hair thoroughly, shave my 3-day beard, get out of my clothes, and this time I lift the covers over my body and close my eyes without the aid of alcohol. What seems like a minute after I close my eyes, I immediately feel as if I'm being straddled by a woman. I'm still half conscious at this point, so the first thought that occurs to me is that Relina is doing that thing where she wakes me up for sex by climbing on top of me. I slowly recall that Relina is a complete slut that I'm no longer dating, and I open my eyes. I see a petite woman with ghostly white skin, covered in claw marks that look self-inflicted all over her body, and a gaping hole in her chest. She leans her ashen-haired head down to look at me, with a smile as I see her eyes become clouded. If she was trying to seduce me, she's done the exact opposite. I immediately start panicking and screaming, realizing that once again I can't move. The woman's smile immediately fades as her weak, croaking voice musters. You find me hideous? I can't even speak, I just stare at her in sheer terror and begin to hyperventilate. Boon's face twists of rage as she lets out a near-demonic shriek. Then, while still straddling my pelvis, I see her arm jab toward my chest, and I immediately feel as if I've been stabbed. My chest burns as I feel her rip something out of it with her bare, bloodied hand. I now breathlessly stare at my still-beating heart as the crazy woman apparition, whatever she is, shrieks at me again. Say you love me. And as my vision narrows, I choke out the weak croak and barely audible retort. I love You. You know that feeling when you go through life feeling like a walking shell of yourself? But you wake up forgetting who you are and feel like you're watching yourself go through the motions of your daily routine. Yeah, that's me. This morning and every day for the past 6 months or so, I can't remember. I get up, go to classes, and work as a waitress and make barely enough money to live on in tips. I don't know if it's the stress of moving to a new place for college or going to school during the day and working nights that's got me this way. Half the time I feel like I'm on autopilot, and the other half I'm narcoleptic. The worst part is that I never feel rested when I wake up from randomly falling asleep at inappropriate times. I barely even remember putting on my clothes, but sure enough, I gather my books and start to leave the C building in my dorm is in. It's a dreary, November morning as usual. It would be colder if it weren't already numb. As I approach the school, I get a small jolt of deja vu that causes me to look toward the A building. Ambulances again. I think to myself, who died this time? I then chastise myself for such a morbid thought. Have I really gotten this depressed? I shake my head and frown slightly and walk to psychology class. It's the only class I'm not barely fucking scraping by in, and I'm pretty sure it's no coincidence that it's my favorite subject. Even still, I've been passing out in class a lot. Damn narcolepsy, I wish I understood what the hell is going on with me. I even approached Professor Stanley about it. He chuckles and confirms that he's noticed me catching Z's in his class. He jokes, I know my voice is boring, but you don't have to rub it in his robotic baritone voice. Seriously though, you do seem a bit depressed and it does worry me, he says to me. I shrug. Well, I mean, I work all the damn time trying to make up for the tuition I had to pay to get in here. And then this is one of like 4 or 5 classes I had this semester. Hell, I can't even remember. I probably failed one of my classes for not showing up at all. Stanley frowns. After the semester, you might need to lighten your load. I nod and say, I'll think about it, and take my seat as more people start to come in. I notice Stanley reading the school newspaper as I try to stay awake with the eerie hush that has fallen over the class. I mean, yeah, it's early morning, so most people are half asleep, but I'm getting a chill. Deja vu strikes me again suddenly as Stanley's eyebrows suddenly arch in surprise and he says aloud, Whoa. As everyone else takes their seats, as Stanley stands up and paces back and forth, looking at his feet for a good half a minute. My heart seems to have fallen into my stomach for some reason, and then he picks up the paper, turns to the page that caught his attention and points to it. Folks, we've just lost another classmate. Same cause of death, same dormitory. The entire class erupts in a mix of gas and, oh my god, and what? I just stare, agape, at the article. Stephen Carl Yorkison was found in his dormitory building this morning, dead from an apparent heart attack while asleep. He was found by his friend Antonia Morgan Johnston, who had been worried for his health after a recent end to a relationship. I told him he was punishing himself for grieving, Johnston told EMTs after Yorkison was pronounced dead. The article goes on to say that he had apparently been drinking heavily as of late and having issues with depression, night terrors, and even mentioned something about his diet. It also mentions the eerie coincidence that Stanley pointed out, about the room he died in and the cause of death. I personally find it creepy as hell because I got the same feeling in the pit of my stomach and deja vu when we discussed that Joe guy's death a few days prior. The fuck is going on around here? The subject of death and dreams once again gets brought up. Normally, Professor Stanley would look like some paranoid nut, but the way things are happening recently, the whole class, including myself this time, listens intently. Some even give their opinions on things like what they think dreams are. Some think they're hallucinations that the brain occupies itself with, and some think it's a soul wandering around in the spirit world while the body rests. All these are pretty interesting theories, but I can't really speak for myself lately. As much as I've been falling asleep for the past half a year, I can't really say I remember any of my dreams. Hell, I can't even remember who I am in the mornings. I don't say anything about it to the class because I don't really feel like I have anything to offer on the subject of my situation. I don't think going through life feeling dead to the world and having deja vu about death has anything to do with the death in dreams. I'm starting to think that dying in one of my dreams would be a welcome release from this monotonous depression. I then silently scold myself for my suicidal thoughts. You'll find yourself again eventually, I tell myself. I start to begin my normal routine again, then I get a wild hair. With all this craziness going around, I need a break in the routine. I call into Applebee's to do my best to sound as ill as possible, which is surprisingly not that hard. They buy it. Must be something in my voice or something. I also buy an energy drink this time before going to Maddie's class. It seems to work because I go for the rest of my courses without falling asleep once. I actually learned a few things today, even if there's a couple of classes I'm forgetting about. At this point, I'm beyond caring. I'll take next semester off if I'm not put on academic probation. That or asked to work weekends only. Something's gotta give either way. These thoughts run through my head as I walk back to the C building, trying to starve off narcolepsy again. Maybe the energy drink wasn't the best idea. I suddenly stop and turn my head toward the A building. I think to myself, maybe it's haunted or something. I mean, hell, 2 guys died in supposedly the same room, 14A I believe. I don't know what possesses me, but I kinda wanna go check this room out. If it's still vacant, that is, and hopefully not like blocked off or something. I drowsily enter the A building second floor where rooms 11 through 20 are located, and find the second door on the right. The oxidized brass letters 14A are hung loosely on the door. I shake my head to fight the urge to fall face first onto the door, as I have done with my own a few times during the narcoleptic episode, and twist the knob. The door opens. To my surprise, a cold draft comes from the room inside to wake me up. The room seems empty, which is odd because Steve died just this morning. Then again, I heard he didn't have a whole lot, and he had just moved in a few days ago. Just for good measure, though, I call out, "Hello?" I hear no answer. I look around and the apartment seems just as small as mine, with the kitchen in the same area as the living room and the bedroom being on the left of the doorway, and a bathroom next to the bedroom. If I didn't hear anyone call back, I figure no one is in here. So I slip into the door looking behind me, making sure no one sees me trespassing. It's late afternoon on a cloudy November day, so people are probably either in class or working. But I want to make sure. I walk around, shivering from the cool air in the room. I don't know if the heat isn't working or what, but there's definitely a chill in the air. I also chalk this up to the intense and lingering feeling of deja vu I'm getting from this room. I've never been in the A building, but somehow this room feels like home. I also feel even more depressed than usual. I feel almost like crying. Something is definitely wrong with me. I need to sit down. Fuck. I dozed off again. I get up and stretch, wiping the drool off my face and blinking rapidly to try and regain my eyesight. Instinctively, I walk to the bathroom. Jesus, the bathroom is cold. I turn on the faucet to throw some water on my face. The water wakes me up and clears my vision slightly, but I still feel foggy. I look up into the mirror and almost stumble backwards as my heart tries to jump out of my chest. In the mirror, I see myself. Well, a version of myself. It's me, but with ash gray frizzy hair, clouded over eyes, and pale white skin. The other me is staring straight at me, unblinking as I hyperventilate. This is unreal. I'm either hallucinating or I'm in a dream still, but I can't wake up. No matter how lucid I am, no matter how fucking terrified I am, I can't wake up. I can't make that thing go away. As my breath slows down and I stop screaming, my mirror image speaks to me in a raspy whisper. "Who are you?" I stand up and I look at myself, or her, whatever. I answer in a shaky voice, "I'm Serena." My reflection's face suddenly contorts in rage and shrieks at me. "No, I am Serena," and jumps out of the fucking mirror and pins me against the bathroom wall. I scream and panic madly until I suddenly feel a sharp pain in my chest, and then I can't breathe. I can't see. I can't think. I wake up in the bathroom feeling extremely invigorated. I haven't felt this good in months. I stand up, crack my neck and back, and let out a sigh of relief. I actually feel alive. And for the first time in a long time, I feel complete. I'm gonna actually be able to move on now. I think I'm finally over Joseph and the other guy, Steven. I think his name was. I step out of the door and breathe in deeply and sigh contently. I think I'm ready to find a new boyfriend. My mom kisses me on the cheek as she hugs me tightly. After a good 30 seconds, she looks at me with teary eyes, sniffling a bit as she says, "It's funny, 23 years of you living at home and I couldn't wait for you to move out, and now that we've got all your boxes in this dorm, I don't want to let go." I smile. I'll always be a mama's boy, no matter how far away I live. Besides, you paid for my college. I can't tell you how grateful I am. She smiles. "Well, you earned this. You've been putting in some good hours at Rising Sun Steakhouse. Good luck this semester, son. And say hi to Ray Ray for me, too." I nod in reply. I will. She shakes a finger at me. And don't let her distract you. I know you'll have your privacy and whatnot, but I cut her off. Mom, I promise. She goes here too, we know our priorities. She sighs. I know. She hugs me and says, well, I'll get to class now, I'm sorry if I made you late. I kiss her on the cheek. You're fine, Mom, I'll unpack everything later tonight. She grunts as I give her a big squeeze. I love you, Matthew. I grunt back. I love you too, Mama. As she leaves, I have mixed feelings. On one hand, I'm excited to be on my own. On another, I'm sad to have to watch my mother go. What's even worse is that I seem to be somewhat paranoid of my new room. I dismiss it as that feeling you get when you're alone in a house. And it's the first of several nights that your folks are out of town. Shortening it off, I shut the door behind me and walk to campus for my 1:10 p.m. class. Later that day, I meet up with Ray Ray in my favorite booth in the cafeteria. She holds my hands and bears an ear-to-ear grin as she asks, so, how do you like your new room? I shrug. I wouldn't know. I haven't even unpacked yet. I even forget which number it is. I just know which door it was. She rolls her eyes. Well, no matter what, my dorm is perfectly furnished with a mini fridge, booze, video games, and a queen-size bed. She gives me a little wink. I smirk. Is that an invitation? Ray Ray gives me a toothy grin in response. I contain my excitement and arousal and feign another shrug. I guess I can always unpack tomorrow morning. I lock the door anyway. Good, I'll walk you to my dorm. You can stay the night. I wake the morning after a night of inebriation, fornication, and video games to the sound of my girlfriend's alarm. It's a 5:30 a.m. alarm. Normally I'm never up before noon, but this was the first time I had spent the night in a room that wasn't my upstairs bedroom at home. Ray Ray is already brushing her hair, fully dressed for class. She smiles at me. Hey, sorry baby. It's okay, I know you have early classes. I groan and sit up, half hungover, half naked. Even with the heating in her building, it's still fucking freezing. Ray Ray offers. You can sleep there if you want, you can even use my shower. I shake my head and wipe my face. No, I need to unpack, no more procrastinating. She nods. Yeah, you do that. I'd come over tonight, but I have a 5 to 9 shift. Yeah, well, that gives me even more time to spruce the man cave up for you. I wink at her. I finish clumsily dressing and haphazardly fix my hair in the mirror beside her. We hug and kiss, long and passionately as always with her. Bye, Maddie. I love you, she says sweetly. I smile as I wave and headed out the door. I love you too, Ray Ray. I walk back to the building where my car is parked in the damp, dark, 25-degree cloudy morning. I take note that it is the A building and I just left dorm 5C. I remember from yesterday that my dorm was upstairs. I walked up the rusty metal stairs and entered the upper hallway. I immediately recalled that my dorm was the second door on the right and unlocked the door. A blast of cold air hits me as I open the door, but it only serves to piss me off. It's freezing outside, chilly in the hall, so it's no surprise that it's cold in here. God damn it, they couldn't even pay the fucking heat. It's a bit run down, but that's still pretty important. Oh well, it was cheap and available. I'll either address the issue or buy a space heater. I think aloud and walk in, shutting the door behind me. Immediately after the door shuts, that weird feeling from yesterday returns. Even worse than before. I dart my eyes instinctively like a child who is afraid to walk down the dark hall, then shake my head at my own foolishness and go to unpack my boxes. Yet I can't shake the feeling that I'm being watched. I try to ignore it as I open up the box with my small flat-screen TV, video game consoles, and a laptop. I set the TV and game stuff on this little rolling wooden desk shelf I got from IKEA, across from my gamer's chair. I then move to the next box that has my Japanese decor and swords, because I'm a huge nerd. It's then that I feel an even stronger feeling than before. It's almost like someone is right behind me as my hair stands up on the back of my neck and I stand still, with a katana in hand. After what feels like 20 seconds, I spin around and quickly draw my katana in one move, only to be greeted by open air, as I half expected. I shake my head in exasperation, but I immediately catch something in the corner of my eye, which makes my heart jump and my adrenaline spike again. Of course, as soon as I look, it's gone. But to my relief, I notice that the dorm has warmed up. I guess the heat is on after all. About a quarter of the way through unpacking my clothes and putting them into the drawer, I start to nod off. Fuck it, it's too early, I'll worry about the rest of it tonight. I slip into my robe and pajama pants and slip into bed with my thick comforter from home, setting my alarm for about 12:30. It seems like I blink my eyes and suddenly my entire body is paralyzed. For some reason, I feel terrified. My room, having no windows whatsoever, is completely dark, save for the small bit of light from the one window in the kitchen next to the living room. I also get the feeling that I'm being watched even more intensely than the first time. Then I catch a glimpse at my door and see a ghastly apparition of a man with a hole in his chest, staring at me. At that moment, I scream and jolt awake, my heart doing somersaults in my chest as my eyes dart nervously around the room. I clutch the sheets close to me as I try to rationalize what just happened. I'm sure it was just a night terror. I'm in a new place, so it's to be expected. After trying to reassure myself, I give in to my childish fears and throw the covers over my head to create that impenetrable barrier that no boogeyman can break. I finally fall asleep automatically at 10 a.m. with my paranoia gives way to drowsiness. Ray Ray notices the bags under my eyes and my general malice at 3 p.m. in the cafeteria. She frowns and asks, "You okay, baby? You look tired." I lay my head in her lap in the booth and groan. I had a nightmare. Ray Ray shirks my head. "Aw, poor Maddie. Was last night not good for you at least?" I nod. Hell, it was. Probably the hangover that did it. I'm also still not used to my new dorm. Turns out being alone is a bit scary. Ray Ray nods and coos with a motherly tone. "I know. It's hard to get used to. Sure you don't want to move in with me?" I snort. I would never get anything done if I did. Except, maybe you. Ray Ray chuckles. "True, same for me. It's only been 6 months, but I already wish we were married." I smile. That's the nicest thing I've heard all day, and I agree. We'll get there someday. At 4:35, I start to walk with a little bit more pep in my step back to the A building, but it's still a cold and dark December night. I'm still having subconscious reservations. I have to man up and go in there, finish unpacking, and move some stuff around. Make the place nice for Ray Ray. I open the door, and like fucking clockwork, the feeling that I'm not alone returns with full force. "Come on, Matt, we can do this." I ignore it. I stand in the doorway for about a minute, scanning the door with my eyes just for reassurance, then step in and shut the door again. I again stand where I am and psych myself up. "You're a man now, Matt. 22 years old and on your own, get used to it." I chant to myself. After taking a deep breath, I move into my bedroom. I finish transferring my clothes from the suitcase to the dresser, put my desk lamp on my nightstand, and put my Japanese decor on the walls and the top of my dresser. Quaint, but it works for what little it took with me. Plus, I arranged the rest in the living room, if you will. I then moved to the kitchen, trying my best to ignore the feeling like someone is watching me again. I put what very little silverware, Tupperware, and plastic plates I have into the cabinets. I moved my soft drinks and alcohol into the fridge, and after all this, I realized that I never bought any food. And tell myself I'll go grocery shopping eventually. I look at my phone and realize that the whole thing took a few hours, and it's now 7:30. I decide to have a shower and get into my night clothes and settle down for the evening. I walk to the bathroom, flipping off whatever creepy stalker ghost my mind keeps conjuring up behind me. I get out of my clothes and step into the shower, which to my aesthetic surprise is hot. I finally feel relaxed in this run-down spooky dorm room. I decide to revel in the comfort of the thick, massaging jets of warm water as I wash myself thoroughly. Though, as I wash my hair and close my eyes, I'm once again afflicted with the same paranoia one would have while doing so I finish up as quick as I can. I open my eyes and look, and I'm relieved when, of course, no one is there. I reluctantly turn off the water after a roughly 30-minute shower and step out. I'm shocked but not surprised that it is cold outside the tub and the mirror is fogged. I messily dry off my hair and the rest of my body, then get into my robe and night pants. The feeling persists, but I try to replace my fear of humor. I wipe the fog off the mirror and yell, "Whoever's watching me, you're a pervert and you should feel bad." In the mirror, I see myself, as well as this fucking corpse of a man in boxer shorts standing behind me. He smirks at what I assume to be my comment, but upon seeing him, I immediately scream like a small child and dash sideways out the bathroom door, slamming it shut with my back against it. My heart races and I practically hyperventilate as I brace myself to keep the door shut, as if that's going to hold a fucking ghost in the bathroom. I'm in full panic mode at this point because seeing him the second time in the mirror, I realized it was the same motherfucker I saw on my night terror. That burly young man with short spiky hair, pale gray skin, and clouded over eyes. Another feature that sticks out for me every time is that fucking hole in his chest that looks like his heart was ripped out. I shake uncontrollably, wondering if I'm going insane or if I'm living in some sort of haunted dorm or something. And confusion and fear finally breaks me as I collapse. sliding back down the door and huddling up, crying like a little boy being left home alone. After about 10 minutes of that, I wipe my nose and eyes and try my best to calm down. Fuck, I say out loud. Guess I'm not sleeping at all tonight. I sigh and groan with my head in my knees. I hate it here. I sit for the next hour and a half glued to my TV, and I get a text from Ray Ray. "I'm home, baby," it says. I reply, "Can you Skype?" And she comes back with, "Yeah, sure, give me a sec." After a few minutes, my Skype ringtone plays with her username. I open the video chat to see her beautiful emerald green eyes, pale baby face, and sandy brown hair still tied up. She's still in her work uniform, which makes me feel somewhat happy knowing she prioritized calling me over getting out of her waitress uniform. That beautiful face smiles at me and greets me with, "Hey baby." My exhausted and frazzled features temporarily soften as I reply with a smile and a groan. "Hey baby girl." She frowns and prospectively asks, "What's wrong? You don't look well and you're shaking." I'm not even aware of it at this point, and I retort, "Is it that noticeable?" She nods with worry in her eyes. "Do I need to come over there and spend the night with you?" I shake my head. I don't know if that's a good idea. She leans back, furrowing her brow. "How come? Still haven't unpacked yet?" I shake my head again. "No, I think, I don't know, maybe I'm going insane." She frowns again, demanding, "Matt, please tell me what's wrong. You're not going insane. I know it." I sigh heavily, and after a brief and pregnant pause, I tell her, I think my dorm is haunted." Ray Ray arches an eyebrow. "Haunted?" I nod. "Yeah." I tell her about my night terror and the mirror, looking over my shoulder periodically through the conversation, and trying to shake the feeling that the hollow-chested man is watching and listening. Ray Ray listens to me and slowly seems to get more nervous as I go. She finally swallows as I finish and asks, "Babe, what's your dorm number?" I think for a sec. "On the second door on the right, upstairs level of A building." Ray Ray shouts back, "14A? Are you fucking serious? Matt, that dorm is haunted." My core goes cold and my eyes widen. "Oh god," is the only response I could muster. Ray Ray explains after about 3 seconds, "Babe, the past 2 tenants both died of heart attacks in their sleep. Haven't you heard of the rumor?" I shake my head. "No, I haven't. I never really have been sure I believed in this sort of stuff. Well, until now, at least." Ray Ray gestures frantically. "Matt, you have to get out of there. You are not safe. Come sleep with me tonight and get the hell out of there tomorrow." In my panic and confusion, I retort with, "But it was cheap and priorities." Ray Ray yells throughout her tablet. "To hell with that. Your safety is more important to me than us being distracted. Get what you can and get your ass over here, quick, please." I nod, but before I can reply, she gasps and looks at her screen. "What?" I ask. She seems preoccupied and terrified as she clicks something. It starts whimpering and chanting, "No, no, no, no," and typing frantically. I repeat more forcibly, using her real name, "Serena, what's wrong?" She starts to breathe heavier and opens up a screen share on my end. I can now see what she is seeing and what she has been typing. Serena, the person with the username of Stevie, has started messaging her. The conversation goes as follows. "Stevie, I recognize you." Ray Ray, "No you don't." "Stevie, don't lie to me. I know that face." Ray Ray, "Please leave me alone." "Stevie, you're forsaken girl." Ray Ray is crying at this point. Meanwhile, I'm starting to become angry, and my protective instinct is overriding my own fears. I ask her, "Forsaken girl?" Ray Ray immediately replies with a sob. "It was an old username of mine." Now, I'm incensed. Who is this asshole? Is he a crazy ex or something? Ray Ray shakes her head frantically. "I barely know him." Her whole body trembles and she finally replies to him. Ray Ray, "Please leave me alone." Stevie, "No, you deserve to die." Ray Ray screams and starts sobbing. I shout through the screen. "Tell him you have a boyfriend who will fucking kill him if he comes anywhere near you." But as soon as I say that, he messages her again. "Stevie, he can't save you." Stevie, "Sweet dreams, bitch." I am now filled with a cocktail of rage, fear, and confusion. Ray Ray is having a full-blown panic attack and is unresponsive. I explode and scream like a madman through a screen, as if somehow Stevie will hear me. Hey dickhole, I fucking dare you to try something. You have to go through me. Ray Ray suddenly shrieks and sobs in mortal terror, which makes my core go cold. Failing to keep a cool head, I scream, Serena, are you okay? Is he there? Then the hair on the back of my neck stands up, and that familiar sensation returns. My eyes are drawn to the little window in the corner of her screen share. It's a video of me, with the hollow-chested man standing with a menacing smirk behind me. I am in hysterics as I watch him place the tanto against his throat, with that hollow look in his eyes and that dead expression. Please stop, I yell, feeling helpless. I can only sit here and scream at him to stop through our Skype video call. He lives in dorm 14A and I'm all the way over in dorm 5C. If I run now, I just don't know that when I'll get there. I'll find my boyfriend slumped in his chair with his throat slit wide open. Don't do it, please. I scream through tears as my entire body is trembling with adrenaline. He doesn't answer me. Instead, he just smirks. I beg you, stop. But my pleading is in vain, as he digs the blade into his neck and slides it from his left to his right side, and the whole time I'm shrieking and sobbing from my devastation. I watch the man who has loved me unconditionally for half a year gurgle and cough while blood falls from his self-inflicted gash like a waterfall. He draws the knife, and with his dying breath, he manages to choke out the words, I love you, before he falls backwards, his chair going down with him. Matt! I scream until I taste metal in the back of my throat. I start loudly bawling and shaking. No matter how much I scream, no matter how much I want this not to be true, he is still dead. I know his mother will be devastated too. His death will be ruled as a suicide, but I know better. And sure enough, the fucking Skype instant messenger chirps at me again when I finally stop wailing. I look up and see that smug bastard ghost in Matt's video feed again. He fucking smirks at me, and even though he's a ghost with cloudy white eyes and a gaping hole in his chest, I'm more furious than I am afraid. The IM reads, Stevie, I take it you enjoyed the show. I was already hyperventilating and gritting my teeth with pure fury. But this little shit-eating grin and message released all my grief and rage into one primal scream of vulgarity. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. I shriek, eyes so watery that I have to blink then to clear my vision. For a split second, I think to myself that it's a small wonder my neighbors haven't screamed at me to shut the fuck up or come to check on me. Steven's ghost just grins ear to ear with so much malice that it slightly terrifies me, but still enrages me. He responds, Stevie, LMFAO. Stevie, you mad? Stevie, I told you he couldn't save you. Stevie, guess you're a forsaken girl again, huh? LOL. I start sobbing and screaming through the screen at the fucking ghost. You didn't have to kill him. I know it's me you're after, just fucking do it already. Stevie, I don't know. Stevie, that was my original plan, but seeing how you reacted just now, I think I might delay your death. Stevie, after all, that actually felt pretty damn good. I shriek at him again. You sadistic fuck. I'm sorry for killing you. What more do you want? Suddenly, another user joins the conversation. My skin crawls and I get a sickening feeling in the pit of my stomach when I read the username. Wataku Mage 89. Steven also seems to take notice to this because his facial expression changes from malice to curiosity and confusion. Otaku Mage 89. Then why kill her at all? Stevie, huh? Who are you? Otaku Mage 89. You've seen the feed off her devastation, right? Why not keep her alive? Steven seems to ponder this for a few seconds. Meanwhile, I'm having an emotional cocktail of confusion, disbelief, grief, fear, and indignation. All is topped off with the dread feeling that I know exactly who Otaku Mage 89 is. Steven finally replies. Stevie, go on. Otaku Mage 89. Wouldn't it be more satisfying for you to watch her sanity slowly unravel, thread by thread, until she no longer can discern what is real? Otaku Mage 89. Doesn't it seem more gratifying to make her life a living hell? Steven sees the mull this over in his head for 10 dreadful seconds. As a wicked and toothy smile crosses his face. I can't believe I'm watching two people, one knowingly being a fucking vengeful spirit, conspiring to turn my life into a living nightmare, like I'm not even here, observing this. I'm equal parts terrified and outraged, yet I feel so defenseless. Stephen finally replies. Stevie, I like the way you think. Stevie, I'll play along. Otaku Mage 89, I'll help you. Oh, fuck you, Otaku Mage 89, I think to myself. Stevie, you know this girl? Otaku Mage 89. Yes, I was the first person to die of a quote-unquote heart attack. Oh my god. I say under my breath as a wave of nausea and realization hits me. Stevie, oh. Stevie, I know you, Otaku Mage 89. Yes, Serena and I have met. Stevie, sounds personal. Stevie, tell you what, Stevie, just call me whenever you need me. Stevie, my plans have changed. Otaku Mage 89, will do. Steven's ghost smirks and mockingly waves goodbye as Matt's video feed ends and the call ends, and the username, Stevie, signs out. I'm left just staring at my laptop in a catatonic state. I can barely process what had just happened. The whole experience was emotionally draining and chaotic, and now two ghosts are double-teaming me to make my life a living hell. But I do know who Otaku Mage 89 is, and knowing this only makes me feel sicker. Every hair on my body stands up on end as I suddenly hear a voice in my own head. The voice of my first boyfriend. Joseph. I am sorry for everything I've done to hurt you, Serena, he says. I start trembling, unable to speak. I promise you I will never leave you again. I love you. Those words make me shudder and I have to choke back vomit and tears. I will destroy anyone who tries to take you away from me. No. Fuck you, I think to myself. I want to die. I want to end all of this. I feel enough guilt for my past and for the murders. I don't want to be haunted anymore. I finally whisper, if you two don't want to kill me, I will. Joseph's voice fills my thoughts again. I won't let you. I get up out of my chair and start toward the kitchen to get a knife. Just try and stop me, I shout aloud. As I finish the sentence, it becomes increasingly harder to move. Every step feels like my body is growing heavier. The words, please stop, are whispered in my head. No, I say aloud, despite the difficulty to move. Please, stop, he echoes again. As I cross the threshold of the kitchen, I become completely paralyzed, collapsing into a trembling fetal position. My body doesn't even belong to me anymore, and I feel trapped within. I start quietly sobbing in desperation. Please, stop, keeps echoing in my head, and I can no longer distinguish whether it's coming from me or Joseph. Please stop. Please stop.